morning. Thanks very much for joining us. Welcome to the Iberian Investment Market Outlook. This is a new series of 30-minute briefings focused on specific markets. And we've got António Gil Machado here from Iberian Property. And I'm going to be discussing some of the key themes in the market that he's seeing and also drilling down into some of the data. My name's Richard Betts. I'm the group publisher at Real Asset Media. For those who don't know us, this is what we do. And we've started a whole series of new initiatives to keep you connected during this difficult time. We've got Realcast, which kind of takes a look at the key news and analyzes that and the themes for the week in real assets. We're also doing special reports. You can download the coronavirus impact on real estate report that we've been working on, as well as these real asset live events. And we're looking to do more of these in different formats like this. So as well as our investment briefings, we're also going to be doing more of these sort of one-on-one sessions. António, just give a kind of brief introduction of yourself. Just take a minute to do that so that then everybody knows exactly who you are in case they don't already know you.
Many thanks, Richard. Well, my life has been for over 20 years market information as a journalist and as a data guy. So we handle a very strong residential platform for data in Portugal that called Confidencial Imobiliário. And I was in charge of IPD in Portugal 20 years ago, and then following with MSCI. And after leaving, we begin this initiative of Iberian Property that is really to show on internationally what is the insights from the Portuguese and Spanish market in Europe. So we are nowadays a full Iberian editorial and data group with different brands for Portugal, Spain, editorial data. We are around 40 people, and we have it all for Iberia.
Before we dig into some of the sort of deals that you've been looking at and sort of insights on the market, I know that you've been doing, as well as we've been doing some sort of video interviews, I know you've been sharing the insights of some of the kind of key leaders in Iberia. Maybe just to start with, share some of the things that you're particularly seeing in the market and that you're seeing from some of those key leaders in Iberia.
Yes, both in all platforms, both in Portugal with Imobiliaria, in Spain Observatorio Imobiliario, and with Iberian Property in English. We have been doing daily interviews with many market leaders, and I would say that the sentiment that life does not stop. So people was angered to say me that all the deals they were being previously booked and arranged were following. So life keeps on. That's the first message that everyone very strongly said. Investors said they didn't stop any acquisitions. Leases keep on. In fact, there is important leases still going in the market, both in Porto, both in Lisbon. Take-up was really nice in all cities, and deals didn't stop. And we have the evidence, and I can show in a minute that deals didn't stop. Construction in Portugal didn't stop either. So every construction and work never stopped in Portugal. In Spain, they stopped for a few weeks, but they have already returned. So there is a lot of hunger to say, hey guys, life keeps on. So let's do not overstress, and let's keep in business. That's the strongest message I have been heard.
António, let's drill down a little bit into the data. Maybe just share with us what you've been seeing for the first quarter, and then we'll also look a little bit in terms of April.
Our Iberian property tools Basically, is news, videos, magazines, but in fact, many of the the deals we have around, and many of the news are deals like Morillo's buy building in Barcelona to install headquarters, or Partners Group sells building in Santa Leonor, or for instance, this one is good, Square IM buys from Viseu. So what we do is to we have a news, and we have now we show related companies, and we show the related deals. So we turn one news in a line of a data bank, and then we can show the transaction date, the title, the price per square meter, the price of the asset, the yield, where is the property in Google, and give a glance where it is, display about the parties, and people within the data bank can take control of their own profile and show, well, their basic information, their key financials, which is the city sector locations, who are their board members, and all the deals that from 2017 have been done for each entity. So this allows us to have a quite comprehensive data bank. And if I drill down and if I put the thing from the beginning of 2020, we have record around 100 deals. So market has been pretty active to have 100 deals. Of course, if we say this, from many of these deals have been done till the end of March. So if from these 97 deals, 83 have been set till the end of March, which means that from today, from the end of March till now, we have around 14 deals or something like that. So, which shows that the market really didn't stop. So we have 22 deals from the end of March till now, which means that the market still is still gone. So Calle Palares, each quarter in Bilbao, residential, in the development in Madrid for 25 millions, an office building in Lisbon, another office in Malaga, residential and retail portfolio. So different buildings from either residential or offices in Barcelona, in many different places, including a very high profile building for WeWork headquarters in Madrid for 40 million on a record yield of 4%, and UBS was the buyer. Shall I drill down on few sectors, Richard?
Yeah, well, I think what's interesting, Antonio, and so I'm already getting some questions in, so thanks very much for that, everybody. I'll just run through those, Antonio. You can also, if you want to, you can see those on the Q&A button yourself. But since you're also operating a shared screen, I'll do that for you.
Many thanks.
So we've got questions coming in. Thanks for that, firm. Looking for an insight on the sale of NPL portfolios by credit institutions in 2020. That may not be something that you've got data on, but if there's any insights you've got on that will be interesting. There's a question in which is the most active sector in Spain? And also, what about alternative real estate activity? I mean, I appreciate that some of those there may not be data on, but any insights that you've got on those
yes,
would be interesting. But yeah, let's take a look at some of those sectors as well.
Yes. Well, coming to NPL, I'm a little bit less specialist on NPL than we are focused on investment assets. So NPL portfolio is a challenge, but by now they are not in this platform because they are much more complex and difficult to scrutiny, because this is not an asset, it's a bank of assets, and many times there are already RIOs, some other times are loans, other times are really already assets, so it's more complex, and sometimes is credits of real estate, but linked with different kind of financing schemes. So it's more complex, it's more difficult. But the idea that I have generically about NPLs is that the primary NPL deals from the banks in Spain have already been majorly done. So now what happens is second transactions. So people who bought NPLs to banks that is now in some way reselling some parts of it. So, and I understand there is second market activity. In Portugal, the main bank doing this is Banco Espírito Santo. And yes, they've been coming to the market with packages of different assets. And I believe Portugal, in that sense, was a little bit behind Spain. So Spain, I would say, there's more second market opportunities. In Portugal, there is still opportunities in the banks, less and less, but still there are. About sectors and about alternatives, we have recorded, and this is aligned with what other entities in the market have said. We recorded 4.9 billion in the first quarter, from January to March, and from this 4.9, we have 1.5 in Madrid, 1.3 in Portugal, smaller activity in Catalonia and Barcelona, and other regions of Spain quite active, 1.7. So a lot of alternative, a lot of logistics in different places. So people was really looking also to other cities, which is interesting. Looking for sectors from this roughly 100 deals, a lot of activity in the hotel industry. So we have all over Spain and Portugal. The map did not load, but there is important activity in, I will reset here the research for hotel. Okay, so from these 15 deals, so there was quite strong activity across all Iberia, so including in the islands and in Portugal, in the south, in Costa, in Baleares, and in Madrid in the north. So hotel industry was really quite important, with many different operations, a little bit across all these. And there was in special one big operation that was, I will just show it, that it was this one, and this was an hotel portfolio sale for 300 million, which include 12 hotels from one brand that was Hotel Real Palacio, Hotel Real. So the properties are displayed, is multi-asset, and it's around 12 hotels. So this one was really the one of the biggest one, because it was a whole portfolio of 12 hotels and other different assets.
But that's interesting that you're seeing hotel deals. Presumably these are deals that have gone, have been in train for some while. But what's your sense overall of all of that sector? And also, are you seeing deals beginning to still come through in a way?
Yes, I believe I believe hotel industry and tourism industry is completely key to Spanish and Portuguese economies. So if we are talking about a sector that is fundamental in our economies, is tourism. Spain, especially, is a tourism superpower, and so it's normal that we see a lot of investment activity because there is a lot of assets. Of course, there will be earth, but I believe that this will be one of sectors with the biggest aids and public aids across all sectors. In Portugal, it's been planned. I know that in Spain, plans for tourism rescue are also in place. And of course, now we will see who is more financial strength or not. But I deeply believe that in long term, tourism is key, is growing double digit, is a trend for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So people do believe that these are promising growing industries. And I see this moment as a very big opportunity for investors to take a piece of action, because of course there will be stressed assets. So in the short term is difficult. It's a very hurt industry at the moment with a very high level of rescue. But on a longer term view, tourism is one of the fundamental industries if you want to be a player in Iberia.
Okay, good. I've just launched a quick poll, which is just which market will recover more quickly, just looking at Spain and Portugal.
Let me say a first word to Spain. Spain is a bigger, more liquid market. So being bigger, being more liquid, it has reactions to move faster. But by another hand, is a fact that in Portugal, the authorities and the ability to contain the crisis was outstanding and was much better. So in Portugal, we have like a little bit over 1,000 deaths, one of the lowest rates of morbidity. And it was where the economy less stopped, as construction never stopped, for instance. So I believe there is a fair argument for Spain and there is a fair argument for Portugal.
Well, interestingly, and I'm just going to I'm going to share these results. But interestingly, before you started talking and giving your argument, it was in favour, but only marginally, of Spain by about 48%, by about 52% to 48%. And by the time you'd finished talking, it had evened up to 50% for each. So, so obviously, but that's interesting. Just that people are maybe beginning to see Iberia as one, as one market in terms of that recovery.
Let me just finish about retail, because retail was a very active market. So very important assets like Madeira Shopping, Fórum Viseu, 40 million, Fila de Reus, portfolio with assets in Tarragona, Murcia, and Madrid for 170 million, and of course Fórum Castelo Branco, 20 million, into Asturias, a very important one, for 290 million, and 50% of a portfolio of 6 prime shopping centers in Portugal and in Spain, and this was a record transaction of $500 million, where the parties was Hello, Allianz, and on the seller side has been, of course, Sonae Sierra, but also Santander, APG, and Morgan Stanley. And these are really the creme de la creme from Sonae shopping centers, including Colombo, Vasco da Gama, North Shopping, Cascais Shopping, Plaza Maior, or design um, retail park in Malaga. So these were really the creme de la creme. And allow me just to show you a little bit of, for instance, Allianz, because we can then show a little bit the details of Allianz and all the deals that they have been doing in Iberia, and these were the two very important deals of Allianz.
Just wondering, Antonio, whether or not your sense was that there was a stronger case for retail in Iberia.
I know from UK point of view, and from for a lot of investors, retail is seen as a place not to be. But the fact is, both in Portugal and in Spain, there is a strong tradition for shopping in shopping centers. It has been a very strong industry, and a little bit this stress among investors and these doubts about retail, as meaning there is a lot of activity with people with different views, and that fuels more transactions, I would say. So yes, we have seen a lot of very big transactions in retail with very prime assets like the Zona Sierra portfolio or into Asturias that we are seeing in the screen. And yes, retail has been a very active segment in Iberia.
There's a question that's also come in on the chat here as well, which is, what are your perspectives from investors based in maybe the UK and US, so international investors, about making a return to the Iberian markets and I suppose coming back to the market again? What's your sense of that in terms of interest from international investors, Antonio?
I will say that one of the most relevant fact is that nowadays the world is more diverse in terms of investment. So the source of capitals are more and more diverse. We are seeing from family office to Asian to Chinese. In Portugal, a very strong inflow of Brazilian investment, because of course there is also a natural bond to link to Brazil, but also Turkish, Iranian, many different sources, and of course US and UK investors has never left the market. They are always been present, and I heard about different UK and US investors being in the market. So especially UK investors, I believe they have been always in the market, and I will say that they will keep being in the market.
We've got a lot of questions coming in, so thanks very much, Rajit, for that particularly as well. But there's other questions coming in around this, particularly on PBSA, so purpose-built student accommodation, because that's been quite a popular area, particularly in Spain. What's your sense of that in terms of market activity? But I don't know whether you're also getting some feedback in terms of international mobility of students, given the sort of social distancing that may be required.
Yes, we have recorded recently some activity. So this all these I'm just showing 2020 operations, and so yes, we have recorded 3 student residencies. So student residencies are coming to the radar for investors. There has been a huge push both in Portugal and in Spain. Portugal and Spain are very popular Erasmus destinations, and this has been a market segment where investors are now looking more and more. Yes.
A quick question here that we got as well, which is, suppose I acquire an average quality portfolio single hotel in main cities across Iberia, what sort of returns should I be expecting, for example, across a 5-year period? Quite a tricky one, I would say, but
tricky one. Well, in terms of internal rates of return, that's hard to give a straight answer, as this implies with a lot of operationals, and this is very different if you are talking on a 3-star hotel or a 4-star hotel or a 5-star hotel or a city hotel or a beach hotel. So there is many variants, but I will say that hotel deals have been doing on 4.5%, 5%, 6% yield, and we have seen transactions, for instance, in Oporto, with a few transactions at $500,000 per room for top hotels, okay, which is a very high figure. And I will say that the figures in hotels have been quite pushy. So this crisis probably will bring some rationality to the deals, as I believe many of the deals that have been conducted recently were in a very difficult figures. So presuming that these high values of RevPAR will be on a long-term view keep going, which is not obviously true today.
One thing that I thought was interesting, going back to a question that we had sort of right at the beginning, which was, which is the most active sector in Spain? Does that also highlight which currently is the most active sector in terms of numbers of deals?
You can browse by sector, the student housing, by different kinds of reports. So we do this in partnership with the agents, and we have also a market consensus. So meaning that people can quickly show and understand for different cities, Barcelona, Bilbao, Lisbon, Madrid, Malaga, Porto, Valencia, what are the investment values per square meter, prime yields, rental values. If you are interested in Iberia, please come to us through Real Asset Media, and please do keep in touch with us.
Omar, thanks for your question, which is, can you give more colour on the lenders, as most investors prefer to use loan to values in the range of 30% to 65%. What about the interest rates? How about rates prior to COVID? I don't know whether your data shows any of that, but also any insights you've got, Antonio, on particularly on the lending side would be interesting.
Well, on the lending side, what I've been hearing from both Portuguese and Spanish bank is that we are now in an emergency, I will say, almost war state, and so all the attentions from the banks are accordingly with the Portuguese and Spanish government to give most of their attention to the loans to the economy, to the small businesses, with grants and with the state guarantees. Okay, saying this, so the focus of the banks, the day-to-day occupancy of the banks are much more oriented to that one. Related to the banks, what I hear is that real estate finance does not stop, so and keeps going on. Okay, new rules will apply. They will be more cautious, perhaps, but again, it's a little bit too early to say exactly. I'm now seeing the Q&A, and there is an anonymous attendee asking if Iberian Real Estate Summit confirmed on 24 and 25 September to discuss Spanish and Portuguese markets. And that one I want to answer and say yes, we are fighting very strongly to have in Estoril Iberian Real Estate Summit on 24 and 25 of September to discuss Spanish and Portuguese markets. And every partners we are talking with are very committed to make this a very strong event and to be the relaunch of the Portuguese and Spanish market.
Okay, good. There's a question here that I realized that we hadn't tackled as well, which is from Alidad Morveni. Do you have an idea of levels of repricing in core and core plus since April?
Too soon to answer. I have been asking this, and I have been asking this also to valuers, because of course valuers will be in the first level of attention, and this will be a very strong challenge. I believe people it's not yet ready to say what will be the repricing of the assets. People have been cautious because by one hand they want to do good deals, on the other hand they don't want to be too much hurt on their own valuations. So it's not easy. It's not easy. There was one investor of record saying, I want to do very nice deals, but I need to be cautious to not to do too much nice deals, because then this will turn on an evidence and this will hurt all the value of my balance. So
I just wanted to say thank you for joining us, and thank you for your questions. Thank you, Antonio, for sharing your insights and also a sort of deep dive into some of the data that you've got there. You can download a video of this on our website, on the Investment Briefings website, as well as on the Iberian Property website. Look forward to seeing you at the next event that we run, and in the meantime, do please stay well, stay safe, stay connected. Thank you for joining us.